And we are live. This is the Free Culture Sports Show. This is episode 5 of season 3, October 4th. Today we are spotlighting 3 teams instead of 1 team, and today we have the privilege of a schedule change which allows us to have time to soak in all of today's games before we do this live. All of these teams played at 10 today, so they were done by noon, so they would have been done anyway had we done our regularly scheduled time. But we've had some time to kind of look at them, take some notes, and enjoy the Man City game. Those 3 teams are Stoke, Swansea, and West Brom, none of which played very well today. I don't know if that is a Free Culture Sports Show curse or not. We may be starting something.
Well, last time we had, I guess we can't curse both teams. Although we kind of did during the World Cup when we did our show there. Just at the end, Gertza got that goal. But then last show was the Liverpool-West Ham show, and it certainly seems to have cursed Liverpool. But it didn't work as well for West Ham. So
Not so well. Well, we're still looking for a few teams. If you are a fan or know any fans for Aston Villa, Burnley, Everton, Hull, Leicester, Man City, Newcastle, QPR, or Sunderland, please let us know. We would love to have you. You can tweet at us. The links will be in the show notes, but I am at Bonesaw Origins and Doug is at Doug Sportazine, and hit us up on Twitter. All right, let's start with Stoke. Stoke today, they've played Sunderland, and they lost 3-1. I don't know much about the game other than that they lost 3-1, same time as the Liverpool game, so I watched the Liverpool game. I have down lower in the notes that they're just not an exciting team, and they don't score a lot of goals. Well, they lost 3-1, and it's tough to win when you give up 3 goals. Yeah. Did you see anything about this game today, Doug?
No, I hadn't. The thing that I spent some time before today doing research on these teams, and so I try to do podcasts because I can listen to podcasts when I run or when I go play soccer or just when I'm doing stuff I can listen. And I couldn't find a Stoke City podcast, so I basically spent all my time researching because I refuse to believe that there wasn't a fan out there doing a podcast because teams in the championship have podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
My opinion is that if you don't have the fan support, nobody's gonna do a podcast for you. You don't deserve to be in the Premier League. So these are my new I want them to get relegated. And I'm sorry, Stoke fans. Somebody needs to step up to the plate and put out a podcast. Maybe Stoke was one of the first teams to have an official podcast because they had an official podcast in 2008. Now that wasn't super early as far as podcasting, but maybe for Premier League teams it was early, and nobody got in the habit of doing it because there was an official one. So maybe that's an excuse. But we really should not be making excuses. Most teams have multiple podcasts, and Stoke has none. So I just have no love for Stoke. I wish Jeff Cameron had gotten his transfer away, and I hope that Breck Shea is able to find something other than just loan Dells to championship teams. So, aside from that, I have no reason not to root for Stoke to get relegated. So. And it makes the bottom of the table more interesting. So
yeah, and I do think that Breck Shea and Jeff Cameron, I don't know if they both would be able to leave if they get relegated, but they could maybe move to another team, one that's promoted, or just another team in the Premier League, and get to hang around up in the top flight.
I think if you are a Premier League quality player and you don't have a transfer triggering clause based on relegation, you need to fire your agent.
Yeah.
And that's just my 2 cents on it. Actually, them getting relegated might actually be good for Breck Shea because then he could actually play with his team, then they could get promoted, and if he sort of helps with them getting promoted, that could be really good for his career if they were to get relegated. I know that sort of sounds backwards, but he's not playing for Stoke now, so I don't see how relegation is possibly going to hurt him.
Well, they are currently, as of today, fifth. They have 8 points. The bottom three right now all have 4 points. We're still have a ton of the season to go. And some of the bottom teams, Newcastle and Everton, I would expect them to jump up above Stoke. So that'll leave them in 17th, one spot away. But a lot of the season left to go. We still have the January transfer window where anything could happen, players moving. So we'll see. They do have 2 loan players at Stoke. I don't know if that means that they just weren't confident enough to sign anybody or not. But the 2 post-preview transfers they got were Victor Moses from Chelsea and Asadi from Liverpool. Now, both of these players are wing players, Moses on the right and Asadi on the left. Not too sure how much playing time they get.
You would think Moses would get some. I mean, Moses is a top quality player. I mean, or at least he was. I mean, he was at Liverpool. Well, he was at Chelsea and then Liverpool. I don't remember where he was before he was at Chelsea. Was it Wigan? I should look that up.
Ooh, for some reason I thought I just assumed he was at Chelsea from the start. I don't know. That's probably a dangerous assumption to think of.
No, I'm pretty sure he played at somebody, but he might have been on. Yeah, I was right. It was Wigan, but he was at Crystal Palace before he was at Wigan.
So he's been over to like 25% of the Premier League now.
Yeah.
Well-traveled man. But those aren't. I mean, I think Victor Moses is a quality player. I don't know if he can't change the team by himself.
Not 25% of the current Premier League.
Oh yeah, that's
Wigan
true.
is no longer in the Premier League.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know. I don't think currently they have enough to make. I think we projected them in the middle of the table, around 10th. But it doesn't seem like they've come out of the gate very well with only 8 points so far. We'll see where they go. Right now, they don't have FA Cup not until January. League Cup, they play Southampton in the next round on October 29th. Odd fact is that they will have played Southampton on the 25th in a Premier League game. So they will get to play Southampton twice in a 4-day span. Do you believe that one game will affect the other?
Well, you got to think at this point, Stoke has to be concerned about relegation potential. So they've got to be focusing on that Premier League game.
Mm-hmm.
And, Swansea, even though they're up towards the top of the table, anybody that's serious at Swansea has to realize they don't have any shot of winning the Premier League. But they do have a shot at a cup. So I would think they would take the cup match pretty seriously.
They play Southampton, not Swansea.
Oh, my bad. Well, the same could still be said about Southampton.
Yeah, I was going to say that Southampton's probably going to be pushing harder for the cup game, and
so who knows how much? I mean, if you're just not very good, which Stoke isn't, then it doesn't matter what you focus on. But maybe Southampton isn't quite good enough to sustain on 2 fronts, and that'll make a difference.
It could be interesting to see how that plays out in the end of October. Now, we did mention Swansea, and Swansea does play Stoke later in October on the 19th, but that is a good transition to our next team, Swansea, who is currently 4th in the Premier League standings. They got a point today with a draw with Newcastle, who is in the bottom 3, tied with 2 other teams with 4 points. And Swansea being in the top 5, now 4th, getting a draw at the bottom of the table is not very good. Now, they are managed by Gary Monk, who did get the Manager of the Month award in August. They are the only Welsh side in the Barclays Premier League this year. Now, I've liked Swansea more than Stoke. I don't know if it's just when they broke into the Premier League, and I like like some of their players from watching them with Michu and Boney and some of
Who's
their other
Michu, who's
players.
no longer a Swansea player.
Right, but I'm saying at the time
Right.
when he was there, I did enjoy watching their games. So I have a little bit more love for Swansea than I do Stoke, and they look to have quite the end to the transfer window. They have more transfers post preview than I think any other team that we've talked about so far. Now, most of those were loaning players out. I won't say most of those. Some of those were loaning players out. Some were loaning players in. Can't really tell if any of them are going to make a difference. Maybe Fernandez from Napoli. I know that you'd love the Swedish player. Was that Maric? Is that how you pronounce that?
Uh, we got to find it in the notes here. I
Ad,
can't remember
Ad,
knowing much about him.
Adnan Maric. I don't know. You said it. Notes from
Yeah,
Sweden.
I remember noting that the Adnan, that's not a Swedish name. He's like Zlatan Ibrahimovic,
Mm-hmm.
and some other Swedish players. He's of Eastern European descent. Well, like Adnan Januzaj is not. That's not a Belgian name either.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he was wanting before he played for Belgium to play for Kosovo, but Kosovo is not recognized yet. Yeah. I don't know anything about him other than that he played in the Swedish league before now. So that's quite the step up from the Swedish league to the Premier League. But
Yeah, and who knows? He may not be. He's probably not playing very much, although he could be. Haven't really. I've just now finally pulled up their statistics to see who is this games played. This is Oh no, this is goals. Looks like a lot of their goals are coming from their midfield players. I know Boney was either suspended or injured for a game, so he hasn't played in every single game. He only has one goal on the season so far. Kind of glad Liverpool didn't go after him at this point, although more goal for Liverpool would probably be helpful for them. A lot of their goals coming out of the midfield with Dyer, sorry, Routledge, Sigurdsson, and an Asian player, Key. And also former Liverpool player John Joe Shelby, who's always an entertaining one to watch. So I think they have a more entertaining squad. I also like Britton. He's another player that I enjoy on their team. But do they have enough to hang around in the top four? Just based off their transfers, I'd say no. Where do you think, knowing this far into the season, where do you see Swansea maybe finishing up at?
It's hard to say. I mean, my original prediction of 10th. It's hard to stray too much from that. I can't really see them. I mean, I guess it depends on how long they stay in the cups. But I just figured they're probably going to fade away. But maybe you could bump them up a few more spots. Maybe to like 8th. I can't really see them getting a non-cup Europa League spot. But who knows? Maybe they could just sneak in there.
Maybe. You did mention the Cups, and their next Cup game is against Liverpool on October 28th, so that's one that I'll be paying attention to. The rest of their October League fixtures, they played Newcastle today, they play Stoke that we talked about, and they play Leicester on October 25th to round out the month of October. Now, you have found that Swansea lost to an NASL team in the preseason, which for the American fans that know or have followed that the MLS typically loses to Premier League teams, the NASL is below the MLS. So this is a Premier League team that lost to a team that is below the MLS. Not very good. Do you know anything about this game? Like maybe they didn't. They just played a bunch of young players. I mean, we have the wiki here, but there has to be some reason why they lost to an NASL team.
Well, I mean, I can say this. Well, two things to say. First of all, Minnesota United has gotten some recent exposure, or one of their players, from the U.S. men's national team. And that may sound strange to people from other countries, like a second flight team doesn't make any sense. But the thing you have to remember about the NASL is even though it's technically the second flight, there's no salary cap in the NASL. So there's nothing stopping other than just teams don't want to play, other than the stigma that for playing in a second division team. There's no reason why these NASL teams can't go out and have the best team in the world, and just sign players and there's no reason why not. So, financially they might not be able to, but if they had a rich millionaire, billionaire, they could do that. So I don't think any of the NASL teams are there right now. The Cosmos, who were big in the old NASL back in the 70s and 80s, they might sort of be looking to do that in the future, but there's still some significant stigma. I mean, it might make sense for the NASL to break out of the regular pyramid, but then, they couldn't be in things like the U.S. Open Cup. I mean, the real thing that'll turn heads, I think, is when an NASL team wins the U.S. Open Cup. And if MLS teams continue to not take that tournament seriously, it's going to happen sooner rather than later.
Yeah, they seem not to really take it seriously until they get to the Final Four, is what I've
Right.
kind of been able to determine. Looking back at the notes, the report from the game, Swansea did play a lot of their regular players. First half, they had John Joe Shelby, they had Gomes, they had Dyer, they had their captain on. I'm assuming it's Spanish for Angel, but it looks like Angel Rangel. Um, Not sure how that's supposed to be pronounced, and Chico Flores. So they had, a lot of their and still lost to the Minnesota team. Because as you said, they can have some of the greatest players in the world in the NASL. So just a preseason game. Typically in most sports you can't take much from a preseason game. And it certainly looks like it hasn't hurt them to the start of the Premier League season. They are sitting at fourth. They have what should be two easier games coming up with Stoke and Leicester. I mean, there'll be fights, but I think Swansea should win, or at least be able to get a point away from each of those games. So they'll stay in the top 6 or 7, I believe, for the rest of October. Now moving to a team that's not in the top 4, West Brom. They were 10th when they started the day. They lost to Liverpool 2-1. They are now 13th with some teams left to play tomorrow. Let's see here. I watched the game. Nothing really impressed me from West Brom. Nothing really showed real, terrible signs. I think both goals for Liverpool came off good Liverpool plays as opposed to bad West Brom plays. And the goal that West Brom got was a little bit fortunate. There was a foul on the very outside of the box. This is from a Liverpool fan, so I do have a little bit of bias. But on the replays, the foul was clearly outside of the box. They were rewarded with a penalty, and they converted, and that's where their one goal came from. They did not look extremely dangerous on the attack, and most of their goals this season have come from corner kicks or set pieces. So not a whole lot of goals in just the typical run of play. This was another kind of set piece goal, a penalty kick. They just didn't look very dangerous today. Defense looked fairly well, just had a couple of moments where Liverpool their attack was a little bit better than their defense. Now looking back at, you have their lineup in here. These names this was pretty close to the team that they put out today, if not the exact team where they beat Burnley. Not sure what was different today than against Burnley. Liverpool's just a better team than Burnley. And yeah, that's West Brom. I will say that I don't believe that they are a bad team. I think 13th is probably right for them, based off where they're at right now. Now, in the cup results, they beat Hull City in the third round of the League Cup. Their fourth round opponent, has that been determined yet, or was that game needing to be replayed? As of our last show notes, it was not determined who
Yeah.
will be playing in the cup match.
So I don't know if it is
No.
yet or not. I did want to mention that Burnley is currently ranked 19th. They're tied on goal differential with Newcastle, which is 18th. So Newcastle is ahead of them on goals for, with 7 versus 3. So Burnley is just not very good at offense.
Mm-mm.
I mean, obviously, if you're in the relegation zone, you're not particularly good at offense. But I mean, I guess it would be possible to be really good at offense, but just really, really, really bad at defense. That's theoretically possible, at least.
Yeah.
Um, so, a team that is really, really good at offense, but not very good at defense is Manchester United. And I did think about this a little bit because that's their next Premier League opponent after the international break. And Manchester United has more international players than West Brom does. Although West Brom does have some, and I was just gonna try to, I was just trying to think about like, might that play a role? And you have to think it probably. I mean, the problem with Manchester United, you have to think is not with their talent, and really, other than with the defense, not with their depth. It's just got to be in their heads at this point. I mean, I think the new system might be playing with their heads a little bit too, but really they should have enough talent to where they should be able to overcome like learning a new system. Rooney, I don't really understand why Rooney is out for 4 games. I realized that he kicked the guy, but like it looked like, I don't know. It didn't. It looked like more of a like he was just sort of late than like actually violent conduct. I don't know if you had any thoughts on that.
I mean, I saw it. It was a late challenge. It wasn't anything too. I mean, it was aggressive and violent, which is why it was worth a red card. But was it more than just worth a red
Yeah,
card?
that's what I don't understand. He didn't punch him. He didn't
Yeah.
like I don't know. I mean, I think probably if that's somebody other than Rooney, that's not a 4 game ban. That's just my take. But at the same time, it was just stupid for him to be doing that. I mean, he could have just like pulled his arm or something and gotten, and slowed him up and just gotten a yellow card. There was no real reason to kick him.
Yeah,
Uh,
I don't know. Yeah, that just watching that, it seemed not out of character. It just seemed stupid.
yeah,
Like, and I don't think Rooney's a stupid person, but I mean, it honestly didn't seem out of character for him to do something like that. I don't know if that's, me just not liking him, or if you kind of get the same vibe. But I do think that the 4 games were kind of harsh. Now, was it 3 games and the rest of that game, or was it that game and then 4 games after that?
that's a good question. My understanding, and I didn't look into this particularly closely, but that it was the rest of that game and then 4 games after that.
Because what I found is that, and this is all based off Reddit, is that he will miss Everton, West Brom, and Chelsea, which is their next 3 games. So I don't know. The fourth game after that is against Man City,
What would
uh,
you say, Everton?
West Brom, and Chelsea,
Oh, okay.
which are the next games for Man U outside of, or in October. And then they have Man City on November 2nd. And there's nothing that I found that he will be missing that game,
Hmm.
which
Well, maybe not. Yeah.
makes me think that it's the 3 games plus the rest of the one that he lost. But that was deterring us from our West Brom talk. So you did say that they have a lot of internationals. I mean, Man U has a lot of internationals, and West Brom has some. Um, Now, their internationals aren't on from great countries, I guess we could say, great international teams.
Right.
Um, I mean, there's one, Gamboa was from Costa Rica who played well in the World Cup, and he was on Sterling a lot of the game today, and he did a very good job. Just watching him and listening to the announcers, they were very impressed with Gamboa today on Sterling. Sterling honestly just didn't look like he had a great game, which I think also played into it. His touch was just kind of off a few times, but Gamboa did kind of smother him when he was marked with him man to man. Um, let's see, they have Sensei on, who's is it Benin or Benin? How do you pronounce that? I've always been
I
curious.
think it's been, but I'm not
Right.
100% certain. But I think it's
And
been.
then Olsen from Sweden. Not Spanish internationals, not Italian internationals, not French internationals, some internationals. Um,
I mean, my point is valid, but my point was just sort of like, are they going to play or not? I don't know. I mean, I assume they're doing European qualification during this next break, but I don't know. The the Africa. I don't know if they're doing African Cup of Nations qualifying. Um, CONCACAF's not doing any sort of qualifying. Well, I don't know. No, because the Central American teams qualify for the Gold Cup through the Copa Central Americana, so they're not doing any qualifying. Um, and then Benin and Congo would be African Cup of Nations. So I don't know if African Cup of Nations qualifying is happening or not. Um, so I mean, just will they be rested and have players? I mean, like Ben Foster, he's not the starting English keeper.
mhm,
But does it even matter for keepers? Like, are they going to be tired? I mean, as long as they're not hurt, I don't know that that's that big of a deal.
mhm.
Um, whereas, somebody like Luke Shaw might play a lot for England and might not be play, and
Mhm.
same thing with
And
somebody like Rojo.
and I was gonna say that with Luke Shaw, because I was thinking England, um, the players could get injured in the international games, which
Yeah, absolutely.
injuries are a part of the game and they're going to happen. But I know from the club side, when a player gets injured in an international match, it's frustrating because they're not playing for your team at the time of injury. Now, if it's just a normal game injury because of a slide tackle or an in-air contact and they just fall and hurt themselves, then I think there's less to be mad about there. I'm thinking of the Sturridge incident where Liverpool's claiming that
Yeah.
Sturridge needed, extra time on rest, and because he didn't get that, that's what led to his injury. So things like that can pop up in international games, and just having another 90 minutes where you have to go out there and compete for tired legs, that could hurt a Man U. I don't think so. They just need to get their act together more than get some rest. So maybe they'll be able to do that tomorrow. Maybe they'll start turning things around against West Brom. Um, and then we didn't mention this, but West Brom does play Crystal Palace on October 25th, and a good bottom of the table matchup between West Brom and Crystal Palace. Uh, that is it for all of our notes. You have anything else to say about West Brom, Swansea, Stoke? Anything else,
No,
Doug?
I wanted to mention that our next show on the 25th, we're going to be talking about Burnley, Leicester, and QPR. At the beginning, you mentioned the whole list, but in particular, those three teams, there's no like waiting period other than the 2 weeks, or I guess it's 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Um, so other than that, um, so get in touch if you want to talk to us. I won't have the same rant about them not having podcasts because unless I just goofed up, and I think off the top of my head I have ones for all three of these, but I think for the rest of the Premier League I have podcasts to listen to, so I can have something to say about what the
Yeah.
fans are saying from various teams.
All right. Well, that concludes our show. If you would like, as Doug said, Burnley, if you're a fan or no fan and interested to join us and discuss Burnley, Leicester, or QPR, again, hit us up on Twitter. I'm at Bonesaw Origins, and Doug is at Doug Sportazine, and let us know. We'll be very interested. This has been the Free Culture Sports Show. Thank you for watching.